This is the A to Z podcast. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott. At Akron Jackson, at Dre Knott on most of your favorite social media platforms. At Facebook.com/A to Z podcast. At A to Z podcast.com. Shouts as always to Scene, to the Honeymoon Grill, to American Fireworks, always open at AmericanFireworks.com. Shouts to you guys for listening, for helping this thing grow, for interacting with us. I almost said keeping us humble, but that'd be some bullshit. Keeping us honest, keeping us on our toes. Just a couple, quick things. When I tweeted the other day during the game to something to Derek Anderson, I didn't need 50 well actuallys. I knew exactly what I was doing there, just making sure you guys all saw that. Speaking of knowing exactly what I was doing, Dre.
Wait.
Yep.
Wait. You didn't respond to my text, though, during that.
Hang on. I lost you for a second. What'd you say?
You didn't respond to my text when you tweeted that.
Dude, during the game, like at the end of the game yesterday, last week, I had 126 texts, so I don't even remember what it was.
I will not repeat it here. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah. Anyway, if we're going to talk about OSU quarterbacks, I'd rather talk about Justin Fields. Let's start there, Dre. I've actually talked to some NFL people who, he's going to go high. He's going to go early. Some people, based off what he did last year, are far from convinced. But he's big, he's fast, he's got a great arm, he's going to be super productive this year. And I think it was the 41 or 42-yarder over the middle, if you know which throw I'm talking about. I mean, he threw it like an 18-yard dart. Like, if that's an 18-yard pass, you're like, wow, that's enough arm. But he threw that, and it just kept on going, and it was right where it needed to be. And they're going to score a lot of points. He's going to put up a lot of numbers. You know which throw I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one to Wilson that started off the scoring. I'm going to go a step further. His intelligence stands up to say, well, all the numbers, I don't know what he's going to weigh in at. I don't know how tall he's going to be. But there's an intelligence to playing quarterback that he seems to have that innate, sixth feel or fifth. He has the feel for quarterbacking. And that, to me, comes from just the intelligence of understanding the position. And a lot of kids at that stage just don't have it. And for multiple reasons. And I feel like we're seeing more young quarterbacks come into the league, and they don't need to sit for a year and a half, 2 years, because now they've been thrown. We've talked about this before, but they've been throwing these 7-on-7 camps since they were 12, and most of these kids are damn near calling their own plays in the line of scrimmage from the age of 14, 15 years old.
Right.
And I think Fields, to me, Zach, is the culmination of the last 10 years of football perfectly packaged. Like I said, we can talk about arm strength. You can talk about his running ability. To me, he has an intelligence, and he has that innate feeling that you can't teach. And to have it at this age tells you he's going to be great. I mean, the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. Both of these kids, they don't play like their age. We saw that from Lawrence, at 18 years old. And I really think it comes from putting these guys through the grind. I mean, most quarterbacks 20 years ago, by 18, had never thrown more than 20 passes in a game. These guys do that,
sure.
in a half now when they're 15. And I think that's making a big difference.
Yeah. Did you see the one from Lawrence? I think it was 2 games ago against Georgia Tech. He gives the play action fake and rolls to the left and throws it back across his body, and it's like a freaking dart. Oh, man. Yeah.
The other thing I'll say about Fields and Lawrence, and to me, in the changing of the game, usually when you could run like either one of those kids, when they were coming up when you and I were raised, they would have been running the option a ton, right? And they would have been pitching it. Neither of those guys rely on their legs as much as they could. I think that's made them better pocket passers as well. I mean, you could run Fields 20, 25 times in a game if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
And at Ohio State, you could win. You could win big that way with them.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. And that's kind of my one concern. Now, off of game one, you should have a lot of concerns. You should have a lot of areas to address, and you're not jumping to any conclusions, right? So I didn't see this, Dre, this week. Someone sent it to me that Urban Meyer said that the whiteout crowd at Penn State is worth a touchdown itself. And I'm certainly not going to argue with him on that. I just think this week when they go in there with no fans, I think Fields and Day are on a mission to put up certain numbers and say things a certain way, whether they come out outright and say them or not, right? And I just think Ohio State is going to score at will and pound those guys.
Yeah, Penn State, no offense to them, they needed to. I watched a lot of their game last week, and I don't know if that kid got to the end zone or not. I don't think he did. But they deserved to lose the game. Right?
I totally agree. Like, I was convinced on first look, and we were texting. I do remember this text. I was convinced he didn't get in, and then on second look, I wasn't so sure.
Right. And you know what, though? He may have broke the plane. He really may have broke the plane. He didn't hit the cone, the pylon, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have the angle to show that. And I was actually texting with you, and I was texting with a guy that works in TV production for football games. And he was actually on the road getting ready to do his Sunday NFL game. And I said to him, I go, man, if you guys had this game, would you have an angle? And he said, of course. Now he works in the number one CBS team, so
right.
He's like, yeah, we would have had the pylon, cam. We would have had a cam right down the goal line because I think for a lot of people, because he didn't hit the pylon when his leg hit down, we all were like, well, he was short. But I think if you look straight down the goal line, I think the ball was. I mean, this isn't a guarantee, but I think it was pretty damn close, Zach, to him hitting them. Regardless of all that, great game for them. And an eye-opener for Penn State. Could that be a bad thing for Ohio State?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
No, I heard Cardale on the radio this morning, actually. And not only did they bring up maybe our favorite event ever we've attended, Cardale's press conference at the Ginn Academy. But he said, he just said, if you're a kid that plays at Penn State, this is your whole season. Because normally, you say, hey, if you lose early, whatever, you got a lot of season, but you don't. You don't have a lot of season left.
Right. No doubt.
Now, and I kind of agree with that, but I'm glad you brought up how that game ended. Otherwise, I'd have glossed right over it. Today, you tweeted me an Eric Mangini joke, and a few people got it, and we appreciate those. And we don't care if anybody gets our jokes because we do, and we still laugh at them. But
exactly.
What are the chances of last weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, big-time games are lost because running backs don't just fall down because they went ahead and scored? It's crazy to see it.
It is. And then the one in the pro game, Gurley can still play, by the way. He really must have had pictures of the coach's wife. That's nor here nor there. But he did make a boneheaded play last Sunday. Hey, I said that on A to Z.
How bad must his backups be, really?
No kidding.
He's a running back who can't run. Yeah.
Right. But he can. If you watch, he's run his ass off the last 2 weeks. I'll say this, though, which is killing me. And hats off to Eric Mangini. By the way, we're going to get Eric Mangini on this podcast. Why? Because I heard him on two Jersey Boys podcast last week, and it was a complete joke. He'll go on their podcast. He'll go on ours. But shout out and tip of the hat to Mangini and Belichick for practicing these things. But can I say something? If you're an NFL team and the other team's got no timeouts and has got to go 75 yards in a minute and 12, you don't deserve to be an NFL football team if you allow them to go right down the field and score touchdowns back.
No, hey,
Jesus.
you take what you can get, right? And in these situations, that's the crazy part. You mentioned it before. Quarterbacks now more than ever, at a younger age specifically, are ready for those improbable situations because they throw so much, because they work on it, because no huddle and because taking chances is more in nature, where it used to be run it off tackle 50 times, right? And when we talk about my Maslin story, we'll talk about the night you had 50 carries in Paul Brown Tiger Stadium, and this podcast will last for 2.5 hours, and yada, 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 yada. But anyway, almost every time, let's not get derailed here. Almost every time one of these crazy things happen, there is a defensive lapse or a coaching mistake that you say, really? They pay these guys millions of dollars and they do that shit when it counts?
Right. It's unbelievable. And it does go back to our days with Eric Mangini, and for all the hemming and hawing, and as much as we didn't like it, and as much as the players hated it, and as much as we made jokes about getting all the little white linebackers he could find, there's a science to what he was teaching, right?
Yeah.
Like, there is something to going over all the small little things. And to me, it's amazing that we're this far into the evolution of football, because football is different. And and look, I'll be the first to admit, I'm raising my hand. I'll be the first to admit on Saturday afternoons I'm bitching to you by 1:30, 2 o'clock about the fundamentals of the game, or how guys don't know how to tackle, or how I don't want to be that guy, but I've become that guy. And watching the game, there's little things that I watch, whether it's on Sundays or Saturdays, Where, like, when I go to a high school game, and you've gone to with me before, I don't expect them. The only high school game I've ever complained about the tackling, and no offense, he's my boy, I like him. But when Beanie Wells was playing at Garfield, he was like little white kids from Hoban that were 5'7", and Hoban wasn't recruiting like they were recruiting now from all over America. And getting running, when he was like these little white kids from Green tackling him, and I would be like, why is this kid going to Ohio State? Now, Beanie was like 6'2", 220 in high school, right?
Yes.
But other times, I don't complain about high school kids missing tackles. I get it. But in the NFL, in college, and now I watch coverage as well. And to me, it's amazing how many people don't. And I don't know every coverage, and I know things change. But the coverages aren't that difficult. We always talk about learning new offenses, learning new defenses. Jack, there's only so many coverages you can have.
Right.
There's only so many plays. There's only so many routes you can run. And it's amazing to me that the fundamentals or the lack of understanding. Like, I yell at you every time we go to a high school game. I do it at my nephew's 7th grade game. I always hate, and it's probably because I played corner my whole life, I always hate when a receiver flares out past the numbers in a high school game, and the ball's on the other hash, and it's not the cornerback's fault. It's the coaching. And the cornerback goes head up on it. And I say to you, and I say to every family friend I have, to my dad down, I go, that quarterback can't throw the ball all the way out there. Why would you go head up or go on his outside his shoulder? The only route he can beat you on is the slant. Take the slant away,
yes.
Go inside 2 or 3 yards, and make him throw it up over your head, even if the ball's in the middle. Now, that's a simple rule that was taught to me 25, 30 years ago, and I see it in games constantly where a guy lines up wrong, Zach, and I'm instantly like, this guy just gave up a touchdown because of how he lined up. And I realize I'm looking in the mirror, and it's me, but it sounds like Eric Mangini.
Yes. Darius Phillips, the Bengals corner, made the big play early, and then that's the play that ended Odell Beckham's season.
Yep.
You know, and I don't know if it was the turf. I don't know if he was jumping into Andy Janovich or the way he landed after jumping. I don't know. But late in that game, Darius Phillips did not touch Higgins. If he does, the game's probably over, right? The Browns don't have any timeouts. And he lets the ball go right through his hands playing.
Great call.
So listen.
This shows you watch the game.
Yeah.
Because you watch the game because you looked at the little things. And that's the difference in winning and losing. Go ahead.
I would say this. Look, about the Browns. They're 5-2. They're going to be favored the next few games. They're going to make the playoffs. A lot of positives going on. 38-7 and 38-6 happened. They're early in the process. They're probably ahead. Certainly in what do we always say you are what your record says you are. So that. But I'm going to go positive after, not in laying those things, after and in laying those things out. I don't know what's going to happen at the trade deadline Tuesday, Dre. I've certainly written my articles about it, and I will gladly, share whatever when and if there's something substantial. But most importantly, and this isn't everything because you still have to have guys at key positions, I feel really confident that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry know what they're doing, right? And I feel really confident that in that building where they'll never let us, even if it wasn't COVID, that they have a firm grasp on what they are and aren't, right? What has happened to get to 5-2, what has to happen along the way to 10, 11 wins, whatever. And hell, they might be a game out of first place 3 weeks from now at Thanksgiving, and that would be insanity, right?
Right.
I trust these guys. Stefanski has not called perfect games. He's copped to it. I think a couple times he's tried to cover up for his players, but that's what a good coach does. We don't hear much from Andrew Berry. He doesn't answer much when he says anything. When he does, he uses big words that public school guys like me don't really understand. He's not perfect. The roster's not done. He's done a good job. He's maintained all sorts of flexibility. He's not going to bat 1,000. He's not even going to bat 500.
Let me call timeout right where you're at.
Yeah.
Let me call timeout real quick. Because the roster is not complete, because the rebuild might not be completely where they see it at the end of the rainbow, would that make you, in your mind, I'm asking this as a conversation. Do you think that makes them stand still at the deadline because of so many unknowns after the season in your mind?
I think,
to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're more inclined to evaluate their own guys and stick with this locker room, given the circumstances, right? Maybe add one guy but I'm talking like a backup guy, right? Or a mid-level guy. I know there will be no rash decisions. I don't think there will be any heavy investments. I think they will say, we like this track that we're on. We like what we're building and how we're evaluating the building process of it, right? And we might make a move to help out, and we're going to have bigger games ahead for certain. But I just think, us talking and you guys talking at the bar when we used to be able to go there and to your friends and stuff like that, that secondary and that linebacking core needs to get better. But I think for the growth of this team, it's okay if they don't, because it's not just about getting there and getting to those next two games against the Steelers and Ravens where you measure yourself, and getting to the playoffs and measuring yourself where you really stand, whether you win or lose by 21 in that game. It's about getting to the point where your ownership allows the guys in charge to stay and make those full evaluations, right?
Right.
And it doesn't do us any good. Asking Jackson's the mailbag, I do, and I appreciate all you guys that tweet me even when I'm not, saying the mailbag's open. After the Steelers game, and I totally understand it, and I'm with you, it was all, what are we going to do at quarterback? And then, of course, this week it was crown the quarterback for beating the Bengals, right? The truth's in the middle. The truth is in the middle.
Thank you.
Don't need to go there.
What we were talking about a week. Yeah, think about it. It's like 2 weeks in the Browns land is such. It's like Alfred Hitchcock to fucking Pee Wee Herman.
Right. And this is my way. I'll throw it to you in a second. Let me sum up this long circular statement with this. This is my way of avoiding the Odell talk, but also leading into it by everybody has an opinion. Every game is its own story. It varies widely from week to week of what you're talking about and how you feel about it. And that's okay. If you're invested, we've said all along, if you're invested in this team, you should be enjoying this shit out of 5-2 and the 11-5 or 10-6 that's coming, right? Because you've earned the right to enjoy it. Once you get there, the stakes change. And so at receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones, the stakes have changed. The way we grade him has changed because he went from a kid redshirting, a 21-year-old with a lot of talent, who for whatever, probably lots of reasons, had a disappointing college career, to now the Browns need him, right? Rashard Higgins, and a lot of you guys like to victory lap on me every time he makes a catch, and that's fine. The guy delivers, right? And the guy runs precise routes. He's not Odell Beckham. On third and must pass, that number one corner, Dre, always covered Odell Beckham. On third and must pass, the safety, who did he shade to?
Odell
Beckham.
So you're getting too far ahead of the game.
Yeah. So no. Here's what I'm saying. I get it, and Baker is a rhythm quarterback, and the number of times that he and Odell found that rhythm does not outweigh the number of times that Baker has found his rhythm in other games with other people. I'm just saying that you look at these next 9 or 10 games and the flow of this offense, which is being built, which has been challenged by the loss of Teller or the loss of Chubb. Kareem Hunt is clearly hurt, guys. He's not near 100%. To the victory lapping that I've seen, that we're finally rid of this guy, oh my God. That's all I got to say.
It's lack of intelligence. The only thing I'm saying you step ahead of with the whole Odell thing is you're talking about third down. Bro, let's talk about 1st and 10. Our run game, since the Browns' run game since Odell Beckham Jr. became a Brown, when he is on the field, the team averages 5.9 yards per carry. When he has not been on the field, the team averages 2.9 a carry. What that tells you is because Odell Beckham Jr. is on the field, you're getting 3 extra yards because that safety and that other safety won't dare bring themselves down into the box. That is a game-changing player, people. And I think all of us, me included, we all get so wrapped up in yardage and touchdown catches and passes that we miss the fine, minute parts of the game. So for the person that easily and flippantly can say, well, Baker's better without Odell, be careful, because it's not just in his stats and how many catches he gets. Suddenly, Baker's job look, I don't think they've ever been a complete package. This is my opinion, because they don't have the innate look into each other's eyes and know what the other one wants to do. And that usually comes from working in off season. And last off season you had COVID. The off season before, he had to go to Paris. Neither one of them are perfect in this. To me, there's no, if you're when you're in a family, it's like I deal with this with my kids a lot right now. At some point in time, Isabella wants to say it's AJ's fault. Another time, AJ wants to say it's Isabella's fault. And I'm to the point now, no, it's both of your faults. If you're both fighting, I don't have time to figure out whose fault it is. It's both of your faults. You got to figure it out. Get it together. Same with Baker and Odell. They have a chance still, in my opinion, to be great together. They haven't been great as a passing, receiving combo yet, because I just don't feel like they have a feel for each other. Like, I had somebody that thinks he knows something that said to me instantly, well, man, I've had people tell me Odell runs his own patterns. And I said back, tell me one great receiver that doesn't do that. And I go, every great receiver I've ever heard of, they see something, and they make an eye contact with the quarterback, and it means, hey, I'm going to run a dig instead of running this post. Or I'm going to run, and that comes from being attached at the hip. I mean, how many times have we watched Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, look at each other at the line of scrimmage, and I can guarantee you they didn't run what was just called the huddle, but they knew from the look that they got, hey, I'm going to run this, this, and this, and it may not, but I'm going to get the point. And I'm not making excuses, and I don't know everything about Odell, and I don't know everything about Baker. But to state that, in the statement that's been made, some of the victory lapses you spoke of, number one, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, the Browns have lacked talent for so long that I can't imagine someone flippantly wanting to just throw it away.
Yeah.
And like I said with the running game is going to be different, and we're going to blame the line. I mean, ask any offensive lineman how much easier it is to go up to the line of scrimmage and know that you're not going to have a seventh guy in the box, ever. Like that changes the game completely when you know, okay, we can go two wides, we can go two tight ends, and I can tell you the math right now who I'm going to block. That makes the game elementary.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, we're going to see. And Baker, hey, look, he's got the perfect setup with this game this week. Raiders giving up almost 300 yards per in the passing game. Sounds like the weather's not going to be good, so that could be a problem for the Browns. Raiders' defense is bad. You go into the bye
bad.
It's bad, and they go into more bad defense. If Baker wants to make a case to shut up the people that were on the other side a week ago, and I'm not sold completely. I think he's always going to be adequate. Is he going to be great? And can he win you a AFC Championship game and a Super Bowl? I'm not sold on that yet. And I don't know if and that doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. I just want to see.
You're right. He can't. But go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know how anyone can say that without seeing him do it against the big boys.
Yeah. No, you're right.
God bless him for what he did last week. But man, Jason Lloyd at The Athletic wrote a great article the day of the game that almost 70% of his big yards and touchdowns have all come against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
You have to equate that to something before you anoint him.
Well, let me merge those two thoughts. On what he can do, where he can take you, and that guy being in the box. I don't know the exact play call. I only watched the replay once. But the outside throw, outside shoulder to Peoples-Jones, right? It was a 24-yard touchdown. I think I saw on Next Gen Stats the pass traveled like 42 yards in the air from where Baker dropped back and getting over to right in the corner, right? Right. As a rookie, Dre, that's the throw that he made all the time, and that's what made me say, oh, my God, this kid's pretty good.
No doubt.
Right? And as I've said to you and as I've said on this podcast many times, preseason, his second year, there were days early in camp where he was hitting those to Odell and to other guys, and I was saying, oh, my God, like when this offense figures things out, they're going to take off. And really, between then and last Sunday, and all credit to him for throwing the 5 touchdowns, winning a game in which the Bengals did not punt, the first game in NFL history with 5 go-ahead passing touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Like, how many times had we seen that completed? You can count it on one hand, right? And so I've wondered what happened. Did his mechanics completely go away? Is he not healthy? And I'm not talking about the next 3 weeks. Like, you have to hit that in today's NFL. That has been my point of contention, is you turn on an NFL game, and yes, Russ Wilson is in a galaxy of his own. And yes, these other guys are, but you watch them throw 18 to 28 yarders routinely, the great quarterbacks, right? I mean, especially in today's game, as you mentioned, where you have to score a lot of points.
Right. I would say he got Freddie Kitchens. Is the excuse I would give him. I think the offensive line play was so bad last year, Zach, that once he started getting hit, like a boxer, his aggressiveness was taken away from him. We all know the line, that Mike Tyson has made out so well. Everybody's got a game plan, so they get socked in the nose. I think he took so many hits last year. For whatever reason, he's just been gun-shy in the pocket, and that's what makes it hard for me to watch him at times. But I will admit, last week, before he even made that throw, and credit to Kevin Stefanski going forward, I can't wait to see how he calls plays for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Because I tweeted it during the game, whether it was the throw that was picked off to Odell, there was too much razzle-dazzle BS early. It was like a Freddie game calling in the first quarter and a half, I thought, by Kevin Stefanski last week. And then it was like he realized, I better get my quarterback in a rhythm or we're going to get our doors blown off. And he did it by simply, short, quick pass to Kareem, quick pass to a tight end down the middle, another quick pass. Like, I don't have them all in my head, but I know and I think I texted you this, he made him for a quarter and a half throw elementary passes. Everything was so simplified that when he needed the big throw that you're speaking of to win the game, and he needed the big throws, the one drive where he threw 3 passes to the ball down the middle to the Chiefs, who wanted to act like he was all tough and like he really don't want to be traded, didn't want to throw the ball between his legs, hit himself between the you-know-where, like he's tough now, like he really didn't ask to be traded. That was one of the best throws I've ever seen Baker ever throw. Because his coach, whatever Stefanski called, Zach, it got us back to the guy that everybody fell in love with 3 years ago. He suddenly was in the pocket, not thinking about getting hit in the knees, and then when you get in that last drive to win the game, he actually broke a tackle when the Bengals actually got they got a rush on him. So I guess what I'm getting at is and look, usually the most cocky, most arrogant guy on Twitter or in your neighborhood usually has some insecurities that he's covering up, right? Mm-hmm. We all know that. Usually, the guy that's going to talk the biggest game usually got some insecurities. We all have them, no matter how cocky or brash we are.
Mine are that I'm almost out of White Claw, but go ahead.
My point being is, no matter how hard, how much he likes to talk, and how much he talks about having a chip on his shoulder, I think the pressure and getting hit up the middle and not knowing where to set his feet last year ruined a lot of his mechanics as a quarterback and took away some of his swagger in throwing the ball downfield. The throw to Odell that got picked off, terrible throw. Number one, it didn't look like Odell even knew the ball was coming to him. Number two, if you're going to throw the ball to Odell on that play, it's got to be towards the sideline and way higher. And to me, if you're going to throw that ball, let it rip, baby, right? Let it rip. You don't throw let that, and he didn't let it rip. I don't know why, but he didn't. So we're in the quarterbacks they're facing this weekend. Derek Carr, to me, is in kind of the same, kind of still figuring out who he is. Because I think with Gruden, if he doesn't figure it out this year, Gruden's going to go get somebody that can run his offense, right or not. Because that's how this league works.
Well, yeah, no. Well, listen, what hangs over everything is that it's not easy to find one. The Browns want this to work. They want him to be the guy, right? Every guy. Right. 26 teams right now, 22 to 26 teams want the guy they have to be the guy, right?
Right.
The fact is, like I said, last podcast we went over the tiers. The Browns are a middle-tier team that's not a third-tier, middle-tier team that's not much above the fourth, but is good enough on their best day to hang with the twos. Well, we haven't seen their best day, and Patrick Mahomes is 24 years old and is in his own galaxy, right? So this is where you are.
Yeah.
You got to have it. So, look, it is important that they keep winning. And the biggest thing to me, Dre, about last week, I'm a big believer in sports at any level that confidence can carry over, especially at the higher levels where guys have obviously gotten here for some reason. And he needed you said it well. He needed that game. He needed that game. And at the core of it, it's a road division win. And I don't care who you are, you don't ever take those for granted, right? No. It was a bounce. You know, the two necessary bounce back wins they've had have both been against the Bengals, but they needed it.
Yep.
Now they're really banged up. Miles hasn't practiced. Jack Conklin's limited. We already mentioned Kareem. Jarvis is playing. You know, Jarvis is your number one receiver now. He's been playing with a broken rib. Guys really want and need that bye week, physically and mentally. And you got a Raiders team that comes in and they need this game because they don't play Little Sisters of the Poor in the second half of the season like you do. So for them to make the playoffs, they have to go to Cleveland and win the game, right? So these are the different challenges that are presented, and it's every single week in this league. It's why teams don't go 15-1, even when they're great, right? It's why really good teams that have one bad thing happen to them, and for whatever reason, injury or bad luck or bad call or lack of maturity, let it spiral into having a 7-9 season. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to the Browns. I mean, the Jaguars are so bad, and they have Minshew hurt. The Jets and the Giants know that they can't win a game, or they're going to miss Trevor Lawrence. And all three of these teams are on your schedule. I'm just saying, as the Browns are progressing, like, there's been some really important moments. Myles Garrett and his turnovers have won you some games. The first time you were in a game in the fourth quarter and you were down and it was manageable, the quarterback brought you back. That's huge. That's huge. That's 1-0. So what do they have in the tank this week? It's a test for the coach. It's a test for the GM because the trade deadline's been going on. Time is on the Browns side because they have a bye week, so the COVID testing doesn't mean as much to them. But you know calls have been made one way or the other. They've still got, 40 hours or so after the game to reassess their options. I mean,
what doesn't make sense to me is they're all doing the COVID test, right? Like each team. Why is it a COVID testing differently if I come from another team? You know what I mean? Like because you're leaving because you got to fly, or like that hasn't added up to me why they're doing it that way. You know what I mean? It's not like
it doesn't add up to me either. I guess it's because of the transit involved.
Okay.
It's that's my only explanation. Like remember when I talked to Austin Seibert 5 weeks ago, and the Browns called him, or the Browns cut him at 1:00 the day before, and when the Bengals called him, his first stop was back at the Browns facility to take the COVID test.
Right.
I don't know. Did he have to swear that he wouldn't stop at a rest area on 71 to take a piss? I mean, he didn't have to. Most guys have, like Carlos Dunlap. He had the social media 24 hours that'll get most people fired forever. But you can't drive from Cincinnati to Seattle, right? So he had to fly commercial. All right, so I understand. The 6 days seem a little. I don't know. Listen, for the most part, the NFL and the Browns, let's give them kudos. They've had no known cases in their building. They've done everything right, beyond right, because other teams have had it. This is what it is. These are the complicated. I just think I'm not sitting here saying that the Browns shouldn't make a move or won't make a move, but when you add all the complications that go back to March, Dre, and that they're off to this start, and that it really all is about the quarterback, and they've had some guys really jump off the page, and some of those guys are now banged up, it's almost like let it play, right? Because it's so much about the big picture. It's so much about next year. And you get to next March, and hopefully you're going to have a real off season and fully assess all your options and have guys visit your building and have off-season practices and have evaluated for your schemes, not for somebody else's. I mean, these are the remnants of constant change, right? Like, then I feel like it's much better.
Yeah, I feel like the emotions of doing this podcast on a Thursday compared to doing it on Monday, it's just like, the same thing of you writing on Sunday, because when you wrote on Sunday, I'm pretty sure you mentioned they better do something about 23 if they want to continue playing games.
Yeah.
And on Thursday, it's like, and I get it, and I get the emotion because, look, if you've watched the Cleveland Browns game, you've had to ask the question, who the hell is 23 and what is he doing? And it's, nobody wants to, well, some of you want to attack him because you guys don't know any better. Is he overmatched? Absolutely. But what are the chances that you bring another safety in here and you trade for him on Tuesday and he hasn't figured out by December 1st? Slim. Like, if you put a guy in a whole new system and think that he's instantly just going to fit right in and plop right in and get it, that's not how it works. Like, I follow the writers that cover the Steelers with The Athletic, and they do a really good job. And they're talking about how this defense and how the Steelers have a chance to be this great team. And still, as we go in, in the midway point of the season, what's the problem the Steelers secondary is still having with guys that know each other, that have been in Pro Bowls? Communication. So now all of a sudden we expect the Browns to go out and trade for a safety and not have communication problems. And Lord knows, Browns ain't got no room to give up no more points right now as they figure it out. I just, it's like, and I know there's some people right now wanting to turn the podcast off because they're pissed because they never want to see Sendeo play again. But to me, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with Sendeo at this point.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, and I think you said it well. It's clear it's not all his coverage, but he's being targeted. And, like, what you watched the other day was a rookie quarterback complete every single thing over the middle, and then guys turned it into more yards. Not 3 times, not 6 times. Right?
Yeah.
Again, the Cincinnati Bengals did not punt. The Browns won the game.
Thank God for Myles Garrett. Thank God for Myles Garrett. Because without Myles Garrett, boy, you wouldn't have the same record. And I mean, that's not.
No,
like
every single one of the wins he's made a game-changing play. He's awesome. He's been awesome. And Denzel Ward the other day was awesome. And I had a commenter in one of my stories say, when did Denzel Ward become a superstar? Well,
he's been on the way.
Specifically on this defense. He's a combination of Night Train Lane and Deion Sanders. In reality, he's a really good ascending player.
Yeah.
Right?
In reality, yeah. Let's not, like, in reality, Night Train is rolling over in his grave. Don't you ever say that again. Night Train took people's heads off. Night Train would go to prison for what he did to people. Now, today, they wasn't allowed to do that shit. Kids, go look up Night Train Lane when you get done with this podcast.
I was just going to say, only on this podcast do you get that shit.
Yeah. Like, come on now. Night Train was like grabbing heads and yanking.
Did you happen to hear Stefanski Wednesday? In the Zoom, someone asked him specifically about the play where Denzel slid under the guy in the screen.
Yeah.
And he said that's an old Antoine Winfield Sr. move. And I said, Antoine Winfield Sr.?
Yeah, that's how old we are, man. And that is a Winfield move. And it really is. Like, and then that reminded, because now I did read it. I didn't hear it because somebody else brought it up to me. And I thought to myself, I can remember Winfield because he was smaller. He knew how to duck. He knew how to duck a big tackle coming out to get him. He would go underneath him and then pop back up and pop the running back. I mean, the Winfields they're just born different. They were born for this game.
Yeah, no, they were. Ronnie Harrison's an upgrade. He wasn't quite born to play safety. He's an upgrade. And, look, the thing is not one team in the NFL that's trying to win the Super Bowl is content with their secondary right now. So you have to make do. But the other fact is, and John Dorsey was a big believer in this, you have to have 5 corners over the course of the year. Mm-hmm. The Browns are down to 3. And numbers 2 and 3, I have major questions about.
Well, are we going to get the other guy back? Is Greedy done for the season?
I mean, when you hear nerve issue, well, listen, Jay, they didn't put him on IR quickly because they thought he'd be back, and so when they did, I don't know. I don't know. That's a question. But
Johnson
listen, we said what we can say.
Johnson wasn't terrible. Johnson wasn't terrible last week.
It's a big game Sunday because they're all big games for the evaluation process, for trying to win, for trying to make the playoffs. This is a team that wants your playoff spot, needs to beat you in your house, and needs you to falter later. And so the way to make them go away is to kick them right in the teeth and make them go away. And if you have to beat them 40-39 or 37-34 or 23-21, whatever it is, you have to do that, right? You want to talk about my Maslin story?
That's where they're at. Actually, I was going to bring up, why don't we, seriously, we should do another one because I want to talk about the World Series, the ending.
All right. Well, listen, with the bye week, I'm not busy, so.
Yeah, so why don't we, I'm going to say this right now, we mean it. I got a couple things I got to wrap up because I'm close to, I got to go do something else anyway. My offer for the Athletic to 5 guys is still out there. I know like 6 of you, 7 of you hit me up. I got to find the email in a complete Andre Knott way. I may have deleted it. I will find it so I can give 5 more out. That's my bad. I still owe on it. I will make good on that. I promise I will do that. That's my first thing. Number 2, I want to do the Maslin podcast right. I want to talk baseball now that it's over the right way so we can combine those.
Now that it's over forever? Go ahead.
Yeah. Shit, football might be over forever in a couple of weeks too. Who knows? You know what? We literally, we're day to day. We all are.
We all are. That's true. It's never been more true.
I mean, but that look though after the World Series was wow. Like, and who knows? I mean, hopefully it's a bad test anyway. But just I think, and I don't want to speak out of turn, especially too far out of turn because I got kids to feed. But in a way, I'm kind of glad what happened with Turner happened because the baseball bubble was good, but it wasn't all it was made out to be. It's all I'll say. I had a lot of players complain in private.
No, and listen, we touched on this a little bit last time, but like when I talk to guys in the NFL, like they are on the edge every single morning, right? Every single day. And as I've said before, without letting you on anything, usually Sunday nights is the best time to get real shit from people that work in the NFL because they're wound up from the games just like you are.
Right.
Watching at home,
right.
Watching at your dad's, watching in the garage, whatever. But, like, they are so exhausted mentally and physically and so not scared but so tense about Monday and Tuesday. Like, It's just a different world, man. It just is.
Yeah, I don't think most people understand that part. And shout out to DK Metcalf.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what else is going to happen the rest of the year. But damn, that's going to be. I mean, you'll never forget that play ever again. I mean, and what high school coach that we don't know that won't have that play queued up to talk about hustle for the rest of our lives. You
gonna go to Reggie's game on Saturday? What do you guys got going?
Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, you want to try to make it?
I haven't seen you, and I know you got like 17-step clearance to see you, so I just was curious.
Hell yeah, man! I ain't trying to deal with you, motherfuckers.
All right. American Fireworks sponsors our Glory Days segment. We haven't done one in a while. Do you got a Halloween Glory Days or not?
Halloween Glory Days. I don't know if I've told it on the podcast yet or not. It's funny. I'm parked in a garage in downtown Cleveland. There must be a Halloween party because a Easter bunny just walked up behind me in my car. I was like, what the? I think I've told the Kent State one where I dressed up as Prince, and it had like it had like a butt opened up in the back. Like it wasn't actually my cheeks that were out. And because it was Kent State and you partake in certain things when you're in college to intensify the evening. I remember walking downtown Kent, and I was nervous out of my mind, sweating, and people were hooting and hollering like I probably usually hoot and holler. And this made me never whistle at a girl or do anything stupid at a girl in public because after a couple drinks and after being out for a while, I probably got my ass grabbed about, 100 times. And about the 98th time, I freaked out and ran home and went back to my house and sat by myself. So the moral of the story is, kids, don't dress up as Prince for Halloween.
There's so long ago, it's hard to remember. And it was a different world then. Like, you'd lose people and you didn't have cell phones, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's one of those things I wouldn't trade, specifically my second one, for the world. For who was there, for how it went, for somewhere having the grainy pictures that we got. I almost said Walgreens, but shit, this was even before Walgreens was invented, right? You got produced at 24. It's CVS, Uptown Athens, Ohio. However, like, I'd pay just as much to not go through it again, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Saturday,
for the 8th.
the weather stinks today. It's Thursday and Friday. I think Saturday is supposed to be a little bit nicer, but not great. Like, I just am so excited to put Ohio State, Penn State on the projector in the garage. Like, pray all involved are safe before that, and just watch and crack them, and then fall in, go to bed. Good night. But maybe I'll see you Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon, yeah, we should be. I don't think I got anything else going on. You talk about those 17 steps. I'm just being honest, and I know the way I said it. I just don't. I pretty much hibernate during the off season anyway. But I don't trust half you jackasses, to be completely honest. I'm good, man. I have been sick. In 2020. It's been great. In all honesty, I feel good. I'm good with it. I can hide till 2021. Hell, I may hide till 2022 if my paychecks keep coming in. I'm just being honest, man. My life is good. I ain't fucking it up with y'all.
No, I hear you. All right. Hey, shouts to Scene, to the Honeymoon Grill, to American Fireworks, to you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll gather again Monday or Tuesday. We appreciate all the support, and we will talk to you soon.